Hey, how are you? I am Chris Robin, aka at Detroit Beastie, here with Fantasy Six Pack to talk about Thursday Night Football, a battle of and in the AFC North. The Pittsburgh Steelers go to Cleveland to battle the Browns. Kickoff is at 8:15 p.m. And I'm just going to be honest with you before I get into the visit the website and check out the rankings and such. I had a hard time with this game, putting a plan into motion, and if I did, what would it look like? I have the under coming in, and the under right now is only at 37 points. So we're looking at a low scoring game, and I should mention this as well. It's going to be around 44 to 45 degrees all night in Cleveland, and by the time this thing kicks off at 8:15 p.m., there's going to be light rain, and that forecast is not changing throughout the length of the night and the game here in Cleveland. That affects a few things, but we shall see. Make sure you get to the website fantasy6pack.net or find them on Twitter at fantasy6pack. When you get there, look around, see what works best for you. Tonight kicks off, starts week 12, so if you're in the playoffs now, you're in. If not, good luck getting in. Depends on how your league settings has it. Or if you go, you know what, my seasonal fantasy teams are toast, they're trash, I just want to delve into DFS and sports betting. Well, let me tell you a secret. You found the right place. You found the right guy. So get to the website, tag me, look around, and we'll go from there. When we get back to this game, as I said, the Steelers head to Cleveland to battle the Browns. Over-unders around 37 total points right now. The Pittsburgh Steelers have been, rolling. They hit a lick in a way, and it looks like they're not looking back right now. They're 8-2. Cleveland's 2-8. It's battle of first versus last in the AFC North. Chris, what are we going to do? Stop with the bullshit. Stop with the nonsense. What are we going to get to? I built 3 lines, and I'm going to give them to you as is. Prior to that, so right now, actually, I have a plan here, and it's nasty. Go on out on a limb. Screw it. We'll see what we get. Normally in these single game slate videos, I do my best to go back and forth, to hype up, not hype up, but mention players from both teams, that both teams could have a shot, and then I dump the final score on your head at the end, and sometimes it's one-sided, sometimes it's not. This game is going to be close, a difference of around 3 points, and we'll go from there. But this one, I'm stacking up the Cleveland Browns wide receivers, Cedric Tillman, Jerry Jeudy, even Elijah Moore. And let me rewind, and we'll go back to the quarterbacks briefly. Jameis Winston playing against Pittsburgh. They're second overall against opposing quarterbacks. To be fair, Winston is an odd breath of fresh air for quarterbacks because we know what we're going to get. Or it's boom or bust, but we can count on if he throws a touchdown pass, he's going to throw an interception. If he throws 2 touchdown passes, we're going to get 2 interceptions. At least that's how he works in my mind. I have Winston 20 to 21 completions, around 250 yards, 1 touchdown pass, and around 10 to 12 yards on the ground, and he'll take off 3 to 4 times. When we look at Russell Wilson, if I had to choose one of the quarterbacks tonight, and to be fair, this is one of those games where I think we could sneak away, we can slide without using either of the quarterbacks because I'm so heavy on the wide receivers, and we'll pluck in Jaylen Warren, Najee Harris when we can, even Jerome Ford in a way. Well, Chris, what's that mean for Nick Chubb? Give me a moment. Let's talk about Wilson briefly. Cleveland, 18th overall against opposing quarterbacks. Russell Wilson, 18 to 19 completions, around 235 yards, a touchdown pass for him, and around 3 to 4 carries for 15 to 20 yards. So when you look at each quarterback, the difference is around 15 passing yards and probably 5 to 8 rushing yards, if that's, what gets you going, if we're going to be specific about yardage. But get this one, Russell Wilson, his last 2 games, 6.3 yards a pass attempt, which isn't, it's not awful, but it's not fantastic, like in the clouds, and his touchdown to interception ratio is it's 3 to 2. So Russell Wilson, he was a hot shot for a few games, and he was off and running. You look at, Coach Tomlin was a genius. He puts in Justin Fields at the end of a game here and there, like a human victory cigar, and he, the cigar where you just stamp it out in the ashtray. That's what Justin Fields did last week. He slid short of it doesn't matter. They won anyways, and I digress. When we look at the running backs here, I've already had several questions. Najee Harris or Tony Pollard, let's say. Najee Harris or pick whatever other running back in that, mind frame there. When I look at Najee Harris, Cleveland, they're 7th overall against running backs. Harris has been getting a lot of good work, and he's, been taking to it very well. But Najee Harris, 15 to 16 carries, 75 yards, 2 to 3 receptions for around 20 yards. But Cleveland, they're 7th. They're allowing the 7th fewest PPR fantasy points to running backs this year. This is a DFS this is the DFS format, so PPR points are tossed in there, but in seasonal formats, they go hand in hand. There's always that odd correlation that's not hard to find here. So Najee Harris, with single game slate videos, I'm pretty cool and calm and collected. We're going, we're giving touchdowns out. I said the Oprah line, I'm like, you get a touchdown. It's very tough for me to hand out touchdowns in this game. Always, touchdowns are the hardest kind of, thing to predict. And this tonight, it's so strange. So I have, will Najee Harris score a touchdown? 50-50. I mean, it's the true definition of a toss-up here. When we look at Jaylen Warren, who has been a bottom-of-the-barrel all-star, which will be out later today if you're wondering. He has been a fantastic little sneaky secondary piece given his price tags, given what he can do. But Jaylen Warren has yet to score a touchdown this season. He's only rushed for 50 or more yards just once this year, but he's had over 50-plus total scrimmage yards. Sure, tonight, 9 to 10 targets, around 50 yards, 2 to 3 receptions for another 20 yards. When we look at the Cleveland Browns running backs, it should be all hail Nick Chubb, a stud running back, but he's, having a tough time finding his way after being on the shelf for so long. But look at this one, Pittsburgh. They've allowed, in an odd way, could this be a game where Nick Chubb finally, kicks it into gear and like, oh yeah, I'm a really good running back, and I know that now, so I'm going to run through you. When you look at what Pittsburgh, they've allowed success to Austin Eckler, Tyrone Tracy, and even Breece Hall in a way. All three running backs, are solid, Breece Hall being the head of that class there. But when you look at Nick Chubb, 14 to 15 carries, around 60 yards, plus a reception or two for around 10 yards. So you're looking at 70, maybe 75 all-purpose yards. Does he find the end zone? 50-50, just with Najee Harris. I mean, so you come to the video, and I'm telling you everything that you've already thought in your own head. Just being honest with everybody out there. I'm having a tough time, giving out, touchdowns to these guys, given the fact that I have it being under 37 points. It's going to be 44 degrees, as I said, raining. So running backs might be the way we want to hammer this thing home, but for some odd reason, which I'll share momentarily, I love the wide receivers in this one. When we look at George Pickens, been an absolute monster, right, as of late. Cleveland, 26th overall against opposing wide receivers. Pickens, 8-9 targets, 5 to 6 receptions, around 80 yards, and a touchdown reception there. So you can see Pickens, he's had at least, I have this in my notes, starred, so I don't think I remembered this. I'm looking down and speaking to you at the same time. Pickens has at least 74 yards since Russell Wilson has been the quarterback. So it's been about 4 games. He's got 2 touchdowns during the length of that, and he has at least 6 receptions of at least 20 or more yards with Russ at QB. So that means he'll catch a pass, that are 20 or more yards. That's self-explanatory. He's found the end zone twice with Russell Wilson as his quarterback. So that's why, given the DVP, given the matchup, I can absolutely, that's what I should say George Pickens is going to score a touchdown tonight. When we look at the Cleveland Browns wide receivers, Cedric Tillman, Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, which I mentioned at the beginning, when you look at Tillman, Cedric Tillman has been a revelation in a way, a fantastic waiver wire ad for those of us who are scratching and clawing to make the playoffs, put points up on the board. When you look at Tillman, at least 8 targets his last 4 games with Winston at quarterback. So Tillman, 6 to 7 targets, 4 to 5 receptions, around 60 yards. He's absolutely in play. Pittsburgh, 8th overall against opposing wide receivers. When you look at Jerry Jeudy, that 89-yard touchdown reception last week was was a thing of beauty. Was in bottom of the barrel. I know a handful of you listened. Thank you for the support and reading the article. I like to say, because it's only fair, when you look at Jeudy, 6 to 7 targets, 4 to 5 receptions, around 60 yards himself. He has had, Jerry Jeudy being 70 or more receiving yards the last 3 games. So Tillman and Jeudy, that 1-2 punch, that's probably my favorite, three-headed monster. Pickens at MVP captain, and then Tillman and Jeudy in flex spots, and you just reverse it. Bottom of the order goes MVP captain. You get the idea by now. Elijah Moore, is he an outlier tonight? Would it be strange? It's an under game, but I want 3 Cleveland Browns wide receivers. It's a single game slate. Anything is possible. The weirder, the better. The more uncomfortable you feel, run with it. Elijah Moore, 5 to 6 targets, 3 to 4 receptions, around 50 yards. I know a lot of folks have also reached out yesterday and today. What are we doing with David Njoku and Pat Freiermuth? I have each one to score a touchdown. What do we do from there? When you look at David Njoku, 7 targets in 5 straight games. He's top 60 yards, 3 of those last 5 games here. Njoku very much in play. 6-7 targets, 4 to 5 receptions, 50 yards. Freiermuth, not so much. And when you look at the matchup, Cleveland's 29th overall against tight ends, 2 to 3 targets, 30 yards. I have Freiermuth going to be on the field a whole heck of a lot. He's their starting tight end. He's an outstanding, blocker, an extension of the offensive line. But Freiermuth to me is going to be asked to do that dirty work in the trenches as the tight end. Will he release in the middle of the field and catch an intermediate pass or two? Absolutely. But I'm not over the moon about using Freiermuth this evening. When we look at the DSTs and the kickers, I love the Steelers. We know Jameis Winston, as I said, almost 10 minutes ago, he will make mistakes. If he throws a touchdown, we're going to get an interception out of it. It's the true definition of 50-50 boom or bust with him. So give me the Steelers, 3 to 4 sacks, an interception, a fumble recovery in a wet, slippery kind of nasty game. They make for an outstanding play. Cleveland, dead last against giving up points to opposing DSTs. When we look at the kickers, it's all about Chris Boswell. So you could, at this point, you can kind of tell which way I'm leaning here. I have Pittsburgh to win, give you a final score momentarily, recent betting trends, and we can get the heck out of here. In a nasty, kind of an AFC North perfect kind of game, just hammering each other, going back and forth. Pittsburgh's 5-0 against the spread their last 5 games. Cleveland 3-9 against the spread their last 12. Pittsburgh 5-0 their last 5 games. Cleveland just 1-7 straight up their last 8. So give me the Pittsburgh Steelers to win this one, 17-14, within 3 points. Could there be a late field goal attempt as time expires, for Cleveland, and it falls short or goes wide because it's gotten a little bit colder, it's wet, they fumbled the snap. Who knows how the end of the game ends. But as I said, I'll read you, get a pen. I'll read you 2 of my favorite lines. Pickens at MVP captain spot, whatever site you play on. Jaylen Warren, Cedric Tillman, Elijah Moore, and David Njoku. Or you can run it with Pickens at the MVP captain, Jaylen Warren, Tillman, Jerry Jeudy, and Russ Wilson at the bottom as a quarterback in a flex spot. So you're free and clear to do as you please. You can write those down and move the pieces of the puzzle as you see fit. Thanks so much. Let's do this all over again Sunday, right on the dot at high noon. The Sunday social here at Fantasy Six Pack, bottom of the barrel, out later this afternoon, maybe early in the evening. Give me Pittsburgh to win this one, 17-14. Be good, be safe, and I'll talk to you next time around. Bye-bye.